Assalamu alaikum. Today's topic is arrays, and we are going to look into how arrays work, where they are beneficial, how working with arrays makes your life easier. So, with the coming of the loops, I think it was high time that we looked into arrays, and we have been using arrays in the past for many of our programs, but we did not know about it. So right now, when I will explain like how arrays work, you will most likely come to see some arrays which you had seen previously, but you did not know like they were arrays. So without further ado, let's get started. So the array is the first data structure. When you say data structure, when you say like what is a data structure, it is a structure in which data can be put in. So you create your very first data structure when you define an array. So array is the first data structure in Java. You will encounter other data structures, but for the time being, arrays will have to do. Previously you might have some confusion regarding arrays, but that will be resolved in this lecture. So moving forward, so we have been manipulating and using data in the past classes and labs. The data was in itself quite basic, and we mostly worked with single literals. What this means is that previously we were defining a single integer, a single double, a string value, but most of those values were a single values. We did not have a collection of integers. We did not have a collection of doubles. So what are we supposed to do when we have a large amount of single type of data? For example, if for example, currently my class has 46 students. So if I want to declare the names of all the 46 students, then I will have to declare something like string student 1, string student 2, string student 3, string student 4, and so on. And then it can become very cumbersome because I will have to type all those string 1, 2, 3, 4 manually, and I will have to do it for 46 students. And later, if the number of students increases, so I have to declare more variables. Similarly, like another example is that we have a lot of cricket players in Pakistani national cricket team ever since the inception of Pakistan, whenever the Pakistan was created. And there have been so many players in the Pakistan cricket team, and you want to keep a record of all the averages that they scored, the average run rate, from the very first person to the current team. And that will be a huge amount of data, and the type of data will be double, but all of those averages will all be double. So in such a scenario, you will end up declaring like 500 players, and that can become very, very difficult. For such cases, we use an array, and we use an array which is a collection of memory locations, and as we move forward, I think you will learn to use arrays, and you will also appreciate like how the arrays make our life easier. But before we do that, we need to understand how memory works. So whenever, as I told before, like the memory is there's a huge memory which is available to the computer. So whenever you declare an array, the computer, it randomly accesses some memory, and it puts the variable in that location. So that's why it's called random access memory, or RAM. For arrays, it does the same thing. The only difference is that instead of allocating a single memory location, it allocates multiple memory locations depending on the length of the array. So here's an example like how the memory works. So suppose I have a memory which contains of 6 locations, and I want to declare some variables in this memory location. So suppose I write int number, so it randomly picks any memory location from 0 to 6, and it starts calling it number. And then if I define a double decimal, and so what it will do, it will again find any memory location which is random. It will start calling it DEC, and that, so whatever I'm going to store is going to be stored in DC. And now if I write integer array, which is equal to new int 3, so what it will do is it will select a chunk of memory location, and it will start calling it ARR. Now over here you can see, like, whenever, like, the declaration is a bit different. So I write integer array just like I write integer number, but I have to give these square brackets just to tell the computer that I am declaring an array. So when I do when I just write int array, so that means like I'm defining a variable, but I'm not defining how many memory location it is going to point at. To do that, I put it equal to new int 3. So this 3, it tells me like what is going to be the length of the array. So it is going to have 3 memory locations. So here we have 1, 2, 3. So the memory locations 2, 3 and 4 are the locations which have been allocated by this code. So if I want to access the memory location 2, I will write array 0 because that is the first location. So, and if I want to access the second location, I will write array 1, and if it's third location, I will write array 2. And so so whenever I'm talking about array, I'm not just talking about this first location, I'm talking about all these 3 locations. So we have been using arrays in the past, and now if you look at this public static void main, so you can see like there is an array over here, and the name of the array is args, and the type is string, and the square brackets, this tells us that this so that arguments is a string. And so if you recall, we were using these arguments as arguments 0, arguments 1 and arguments 2 when we were inputting our values in the past labs, in the past lectures. So there you were using these arrays at that time, this array at that time, and I had said that you shouldn't worry about it, just write it as it is, because if I had tried to explain what array is at that time, it would have confused you. So yes, so as I said before, you have been using arrays since the beginning of this class, but you just did not know about it. Now here is another example. I define an array of type integer. So when I write this, so it just tells the computer that I am defining an array and the name of the array is going to be ARR. It doesn't tell us like how many locations it is going to point at. So in the next line, I write array ARR is equal to new int. So over here, I'm just telling the computer that it should allocate new memory location of type integer, and the number of memory locations is going to be 200. So I can write all of this in a single line as I did before, or I can write it like this. So it's going to have 200 location. Now here I have used a for loop. Again, the for loop starts from 0, it goes all the way to the value 200, which means it's not going to go beyond 199, and 0 while including 0 and 199, it makes a total of 200 locations. So which is exactly what will happen over here, because the array, the first index is going to be 0 and the last index is going to be 199. Now when I write this code and run this code, what will happen that in the 0th location, when the first index loop runs, in the 0th location, ARR0 is going to store a value 0, AR1 going to store the value 1, AR2 store the value 2, ARR25 store the value 25, ARR199 store the value 199. This is what this code is going to do. Now we can declare arrays in this form as well. You normally do this when there is not a particular pattern to the data that you are entering, and you do this when you are not sure. You declare an array like this when there's not a proper pattern to the data that you're entering. So over here I've given 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but it could have been like 100, 23, 91, and 4 and 0. So it could have been that way. So it would have been very difficult to find a pattern between those numbers. So if something like that comes up, so you can declare an array like this. So you don't have to write new int, it just declares the entire array this way. And similarly, if I want to declare an array which contains only names, I can write string names, and it will contain all the names that that I've written over here. So in name 0 we will have the value alpha, name 1 we will have the value bravo, and name 2 we will have the value Charlie. Now suppose we have declared an integer array is equal to 0 1 2 3 4. So you can see like the number of elements that the array has is 5. So because we're including 0 1 2 3 and 4, total values, they make the value make the size of the array to be 5. So if I want to get the size of the array, I can get that by writing the code array dot length. So I will write the name of the array, which is arr in this case, and I will write dot length. So this will give me the length of the array, which is 5 in this case. So now we quickly go towards the code review, and this will give you a good insight as to how arrays can be used. So first of all, we write this little exercise, is this little program in which like what this program does is that I have written a system.println which says length of an arguments dot length. So if somebody writes gives this function some arguments, is going to write the length of the arguments as, suppose if I give it 3 4 5, so it will give me the length to be 3, because we have inputted 3 values. So I think the best way to do that is, understanding how this works, is to run this code and see like how it will work. So over here I write cd dot dot, so that I go one step back, and then I will write java c test dot java. So this will compile the code, and then I will write java and test, and java test, and I give it the value 7 8 9 6 7. So you can see like it has given me 5 as the answer. So I gave it like the 5 values, and it gave me 5 as the answer. So this is like how the command prompt works. And suppose I give it nothing, so most likely it will say 0 is the answer. So the length of the array is 0, because we did not pass anything over here, so it gave me like the length of arguments is 0. And previously, if you tried to run the program without arguments, then it used to like cause problems, because then it used to say that you haven't given any arguments, and still you want to access args0 or args1. So that can be avoided if you just use the arguments dot length, and it becomes easier to manipulate data that you pass to a function. Now suppose I want to declare an array by which I can assign I declare an array, suppose of 100 values, and I want to assign assign the values using a for loop. So in order to do that, I can write integer, let's call it array, and since it's an array, I have to specify like it's an array this way, and I import it equal to new int, and I give it the value 20. So it's an array of length 20, and it's saying that it's not being used. So now I write for int I is equal to 0, I is less than array dot length, and I plus plus. So the reason I'm using array dot length over here instead of writing 20 is because if I choose to change this to 80, so this code will have no effect because of this change. So whatever whatever the length of the array is, I can always use this as a terminating condition. So I will terminate when it will reach this length. So now I just write array I is equal to I into 10. So the first time this code will run, it will put In location 0, it will put the value 0 because 0 into 10 is 0. Then location 1, it's going to put the value 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and so on. So once this is done, I can check if I'm doing this correctly. So I write system dot out dot println, and I give the value of the array itself. So it's the array, and I write an I over there. So this will give us like 0, 10, 20, 30 and all the way to in this case all the way to 190. So that will give us give us a solution. So if I run this now, you can see that it started off from 0 and it went all the way to 190, and that is because the array is of length 20. It will start from 0, go all the way to 19, and whenever you're going to multiply any value with 10, it will become so for 1 it will become 10, for 2 it will become 20, and so on. So this is like how we we can store data in an array and then we can use it later. So that's it for today. This was a brief introduction to arrays, and hopefully in the next class, which I'm going to upload soon, we are going to go through the code snippets that I have written, and we will see like how arrays work with those code snippets. I think that is going to be an interesting class, so I recommend that you see that video. So that's it for me for today. I'll see you next time.